Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to deep dive into one of the most powerful but often overlooked features in Power Automate, which are data operations. So there are some actions available for the data operation within Power Automate, and by using that, what we would be able to do is we would be able to basically transform the data which we get. So what we will do, we will take a practical example, a real world scenario wherein we need to generate a project task report from the SharePoint list data and send a formatted HTML email to the user. The purpose of this video is not just to show you a working solution, but also to understand the usage and how flexible and powerful this data operation can be. There are and can be definitely other ways also to achieve similar result, but this video walkthrough is to give you idea of doing this similar by using the data operation actions and how we can structure our flow to make it more efficient and better use by using the actions which are available inside Power Automate. So let us understand. First thing is, consider that we have a list called project wherein we are storing master project names, and then you have a project task list where you are creating all the tasks related to a particular project. Now a task and status of the task can be completed, active, pending. What we want to do is we wanted to send a formatted email to the user which would be based on each project. So for each project, what we want to do is we want to create a table wherein we wanted to send them total tasks which are there in the database, what total number of completed tasks, total number of active tasks, and total number of pending tasks. Sorry. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to basically send this kind of email formatted wherein for each project there are certain columns and then we have total number of tasks depending on the status of that particular task. Okay, so now let us check the flow. First step, in my case, I have just created a schedule flow which will run probably daily to get the data from the SharePoint list and based on that send the report based on a particular time. First thing is we are initializing a variable called table which is of type string. Then we are getting the items from the project list to get all the project items. Then we are also getting all the tasks from the project task list. Now we are not passing any filter on anything. What we want to do is first we want to get everything which is there in the system in the project and also in the project task, and then by using the data operations we are going to filter it. So here the idea is that rather than getting and filtering the data or getting data from the project task list on every project which we have in the project list, we are going to get everything at once, and then by storing the data in the local collections and by using the data operations we are going to process the data and transform the data in the form which we need. And hence I said that there might be other ways to do similar kind of use case, but the idea here is to understand the usage of the data operation actions which are available. Now, once we have the data from the project task list, first and the foremost thing what we will do is we are going to apply for each. Now this apply for each is going to be on the project list. It means if there are 5 projects, this loop would run for the 5 times. So first we are targeting the master list, which is project list in our case. Then we are filtering the array. We are using the output of the project task list and filtering based on the project name and the title. Now if you see in the project task list, we have basically a lookup of the project name, right? And when you go to project, the project name field which we have is basically the title field. So what we need to do is we need to basically go and filter and find all the tasks related to a particular project whenever the loop is running. Now, as you see, what we need to do is we need to basically find total number of tasks for that project, total number of pending tasks, total number of completed tasks, total number of active tasks. And then we will create and required JSON object based on this so that we can directly use it in the data operation to send the formatted HTML table. Okay, so first thing is compose. Why this compose is required? What we are doing is we are just using the expression to count the total number of items in the filter array object. This is going to give us the total tasks which are there for a particular project in the SharePoint list. This is basically to get the total number of tasks which we have in the system. Then we'll talk about active, pending and completed task. Second is we need to filter the pending task. So for that what we will do is from the filter array body object and whatever would be the status value, we will filter it based on the pending task. And then we are doing the length so that we know the total number of the pending task in the system. Similar way, we will do it for the completed task by just filtering the status value from the filtered array to completed and then using the length expression or length function to count the total number of completed tasks. Same way, we are going to do it for the active task also. So in here, by using this data operations action, which is filter array, we are going to count the total number of tasks based on the status. Then what we are doing is we are using the compose wherein we are creating the JSON object as a string. So where the column would be project name and the title as in the title value of the project, total task of the output total task, active task, total task of the active task, and then same way pending and completed. Once we have this, what we are doing is we are appending the whole JSON object to the string variable. So for each project which are there in the SharePoint list, similar kind of JSON object would be created by automatically counting or formulating the total number of count based on the total number of items based on the status and then appending into the string variable. Now once we have that, what we are going to do is we are going to use again the compose method, but by converting the string into JSON. Now to do that, what we need to do is we need to make sure that the JSON object is properly formatted and it is in the array. So this basic particular function does that, where we are concatenating the array, which is basically the square bracket, and then replacing all the curly brackets is by passing the comma value. Now to do this, there might be other ways of doing this, but what I wanted to showcase here is that how we can do some string manipulation against the JSON object which is there to convert into a JSON object. Now once we have the JSON object, we are going to use another very powerful select data operation, wherein you need to pass the output of the previous object and then you are mapping the project name, total task, active pending task to the fields or the values which you have it. What it is going to do is this is going to basically map the JSON object to the attribute which we have and to the value which will be there. The select action is very powerful, which basically allows us to transform the shape of the objects into the array. So if you want to manipulate this, for example, if you wanted to split a particular value within the JSON or object to two multiple values, or if you want to combine and all of that, that is where the select is used. In this case, what we are doing is we are purely mapping the object which we have in our output from the compose for value to basically the value which we need to project. But eventually, if you wanted to use it correctly, what you can do is you can also transform this, and if there are 10 objects or 10 attributes in a particular JSON object, but you also only wanted to use 5, then you can do that also. If you wanted to add one, that also you can do. Okay, so now that we have the select object, next thing is what we are going to do is we are going to use the data operation called create HTML object. What it needs, it needs basically the JSON object from where, or array of the JSON object from where it is going to create the required tables. So we are just passing the output of the select actions from there and it is going to create the HTML table. And from there, what we are going to do is we are just going to send an HTML formatted email. In this case, whatever the static text which we have, we are going to put it into our email body, but the output of the HTML table which we have, we are just going to paste it there so that we can get the required output. Let us do a quick run. And also I also wanted to show you the output. So here if you see, we got the email in the HTML format and based on the screenshot which we have seen previously. Now, one good thing to also know and understand here is that what are the kind of output it's basically each actions is generating. This is going to help us as a developer to see what we are getting, right? So as we said, for the apply for each, what we are doing is we are passing the row input, which is basically the whole task items which are there in the project task list as an input. And then in the filter array, what we are doing is we are basically passing the object, and in the row output what we are going to get is we are going to get the filtered object depending on the project name. So this is where we are basically filtering it. Now we got the whole JSON object, right? It means that within this filter array what we have is we have so many attributes which are there, which is basically there in the SharePoint list item. Okay, and then in the compose what we are doing is we are just basically counting the total number of row items based on the filter which we have. Second is once we have that object, we are basically doing the pending. We are basically trying to find the pending task. In this case, there are no pending tasks, so there is an empty array. But yes, we do have completed task. Now, if you see here, the again the array which we have is having all the attributes which are written from the SharePoint. So we are not still manipulated or done anything there. But what we are doing is after we have everything, we are basically creating our own JSON object, and we are passing the table and the project name and the value to it, so that each JSON object is created as a string. Now this will do it for each item which we have. And then for the compose, what we are doing is we are creating the JSON object which we required basically as in array by all the project and total task and all the attributes which are there. Then we are using select, and then we are using the HTML to basically create the HTML. So once we pass the row input, which is basically the JSON object which we have, and the format is HTML, the row output which we get is we get an HTML table with the heading and everything. And then we are using the same output in the same email body, and then the email would be sent. Okay, so that basically brings us to the end of this video. So what we have seen is we have walked through how we can use data operation in Power Automate to basically create an automated project task report from the SharePoint list. As we saw, the actions like filter, erase, select, compose, etc., create HTML table, etc., it does offers lot of flexibility while we wanted to transform the data and present it to the user. Once we understand how we can chain all of this together, we can basically build some powerful solutions around this. Please remember that this is just one of the use case. The same concept can be applied to the variety of different business use cases which you have, from generating report to summary, wherein you have parent and child relationship. Again, this kind of operation can also be used to basically format the data which we have, to clean up the input data which we have, which can be further used for the automation. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.